some people are making changes to change brokerages, and some people are making changes to get out of the business, right? So 60,000 agents have left the business overall.
Thinking bigger about, like, if you're coming to a place with a solid database, with solid connections, with solid relationships, that's value that you bring and that you have.
For sure.
What are you getting in exchange for that?
Businesses are looking for suckers. So are you going to be a sucker?
Welcome to the All Blends Perfectly podcast. Keith, Ryan, Harrison, Coalition Properties, and friends talking about the intersection between lifestyle, real estate, culture, art, and everything in between, because it all blends perfectly.
Good day, good people. Welcome back to another episode of the All Blends Perfectly podcast. I'm here with my partner, Mr. Ryan Butler.
What's up? What's up?
Our other partner, Keith James, is with us in spirit, as always, but he's actually changing the world with children on the other side of the world right now. So we're going to lead this conversation today with him here in spirit, and I am Harrison Beecher. We want to talk today about the market first, but also something that's happening in the market with realtors that are deciding to change offices. There's market forces behind it, though. There's real numbers. This month, Bright MLS, which is our local multiple listing service, put out a report that talks about the change that has happened year over year. So basically from May 2023, from May 22 to 23, the total number of closed transactions is down approximately 23% for the District of Columbia. Also, the number of showings that happen, that means the number of agents taking people in to check out houses, is down about 16%. What's interesting about those two things is it's an indication that there is less business, less activity, less things going on in the market. Ryan, from all that we've seen and the data we're looking at, what do these market changes and kind of where we're at this summer tell you about what's going on?
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
I mean, what that's showing. So we always say the terms leading indicators and lagging indicators. So generally what most people look at are lagging indicators because that's what the results that they see. But if you take a look at the leading indicators, they can't predict everything, but it's going to give you a good idea of what's to come. And I'm looking at the showings down year over year, 16%. And that's showing me that if showings are down, that means less transactions are going to happen. Yeah. That's just literally what it is. There's no other. I mean, that's common sense, right? Mm-hmm. Less showings, less houses sold. Yeah. So I think that we're going to see even more decrease in transactions coming into the winter, especially because we know, or we don't know, we assume through whispers through the ear that the government is still going to raise the interest rates again. Yeah. At least 2 more times.
Because they're still not quite happy with, inflation is better now for sure, but they're not quite happy with where it is from a long-term and sustainable standpoint. So.
Right. So, I mean, we're looking at least 2 increases in the latter half of the year, and that's gonna cause a cold winter.
So compounding the fact that there is less business now, and we assume less business to be had in the future, it's still competitive. Now, what drives that? One of the main factors from that same report was the total number of new listings. It's actually down about 36.3% year over year. So there are less actual product to go for. But when you still got pent up demand, what does that equal? An increase in the amount of competition and properties that get bid up over list price. We serve DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but our MLS is regional. And the numbers that the MLS showed us in terms of buyers paying over list price, for every offer, 70% of the offers in Virginia, buyers paid over list price. In Maryland, it was 52%. Interestingly enough, in DC, it was only 15.4%. That's still significant, right? That it happens. So Ryan, what is, contextualize those two things of like less deals, but things still getting bid up over list price?
Well, I think what they're saying is DC is cooling off a little bit. And also probably because DC has been a condo market for so long. And condos are one of the first product types to really cool off. They cool off even when the houses can be hot. The condo market could be kind of calm and cool. Yeah. Calm, cool, and collected. People just mad that, people are going to be upset. They can't sell their condos. They can't sell their... So there's... Part of it is interesting, right? Like, that's a risk of condos. Yeah. It's more affordable to get into them.
Correct.
Because they're going to be literally the least expensive product out there. Because it's less space and price per square foot is going to be, even if they're the same across the board, 600 square feet versus 2,500 square feet, you're going to have a difference in price. Yeah. But the risk comes with, a bunch of brand new condos, and we've seen it. Like developers went crazy with condos in DC.
Yeah, they had their foot on the gas pedal. And then
they were moving in DC.
And remember the micro unit trend too? Everything tiny, shared space.
They
we sharing a bathroom. We sharing a kitchen. And COVID happened. People were like, nah, bro, I'm good.
Yep. And then, but quite frankly, in DC, in Maryland and Virginia, we just don't see as many condo developments. And when they are, I mean, they're big, old, spacious condos, right? I mean, we're talking 2 levels and 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, whereas, you got 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom condos in DC.
Hey, man, I feel like they kind of redefined what a 1-bedroom was. Even when we sold down at the Wharf, which is beautiful. Love hanging out at the Wharf. It's great. They had 2-bedroom units we were selling when they first sold out. The second bedroom didn't have a window to outside. Like they put a door and then a big glass window back to the living room. And in every other context, historically, I still shout out to Monty Hoffman and P.N. Hoffman for delivering beautiful product. How did they finesse to get that to become a legal 2-bedroom?
That is the definition of a bedroom. That's why it needs to have a closet and it needs to have an access point. And that it did.
But historically, the egress had to be outside for safety. Because look, the door is right here and the window is right next to it. If there's a fire by both of those things, I'm cooking.
So this is real. This is a real time argument right now. Me and Harrison about to have.
Let's do it.
Because even a lot of the multifamily 4-unit owners, they've been doing that for years. They'll split the basement up and have that door that comes out. It'll be like a middle
of shaft. Talking about the shaft thing in the middle.
Yes.
With the hands? Yeah.
Yes, in the middle. Yeah, in the middle. So
where was it?
In the middle, we're trying to get an access point, but there's no door entry left or right of that. And they just made another door, and they were able to say that's an additional bedroom. We saw that because they were trying to push the numbers for voucher tenants. Yeah. So they were trying to stuff as many bedrooms as possible. And like DC Housing Authority gave it a pass, and they continue to give it a pass.
Because we need more units, and by no means am I saying do things that stop the number of units that are delivered, because our city needs it at a high level. However, it's a finesse for me to say, like even in our same room, that's my door to go out and my emergency exit right next to it. Come on, man. If something actually burns down, I can't get out if the safety thing is right next to it. Even in those old multi-units, that middle corridor that you could climb out of was a separate way to get out. It wasn't like right next to the same one.
That is correct, Harrison.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's right. I know it's correct. No.
All right. Well, that was actually for the listeners, that's actually interesting for them to hear how we kind of think similarly but differently on some things. And also, they gave some perspective on how things have been done over years in DC. Yeah. If you don't have perspective or even just a little understanding of some of these nuances on how people build, develop, make adjustments to maximize their profits. And sometimes it helps the tenants that are living in there, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, man. So that's the market and kind of what's happening right now. The other thing to me about those numbers and percentages that go over list price is really what we felt is just that regionally, Northern Virginia has continued to be desirable, competitive, hot, and there is less total business to be had. So the folks who are out here winning are having to write more aggressive offers and just having to be more thoughtful about what it takes to win. Like there's indicators that show certain sectors of the market are cooling off, but if there's a hot product, well-priced, good condition, good location, people out here are motivated and about it. So you can't expect to be able to squeeze concession or deal out of every sector and every asset class.
Yeah, and then the people, quite frankly, the people that live in Virginia typically have more money. Yeah, the ones that are buying, right? The ones that are buying and being competitive, they are more financially sound and stable to be able to make these types of decisions. So versus, some counties in Maryland where the price point is lower. We know the price point is lower over there.
Cool, man. All right, so that's what's happening in the world. And it translates exactly to our conversation today. If there are non-realtor friends that are watching and checking this out today, there has been an interesting shift where realtors, folks that have been with companies for a while, are deciding to change brokerages. If you're not aware, a realtor generally serves or works in a brokerage under a broker in charge, and that's kind of the protection, definition, and structure of most organized real estate. And
legally, you have to do that.
You have to do that. Yeah.
There's no way around it. You have to be affiliated with a brokerage.
Correct. But there are semantic differences regionally. Like there are folks in New York, Seattle,
Who call
where
it broker
everybody
themselves
says they're a
brokers.
broker. So what we're talking about is kind of the DC, Maryland, Mid-Atlantic definition of it, of a realtor salesperson choosing to serve or work under a brokerage that has a broker in charge.
Yeah, a salesperson. You don't even have to be a realtor to be that. You can work under a brokerage without being a realtor.
Correct. If the broker decides, brokerage decision. Yep. So they changing, Ryan. Mm-hmm. There are reasons they change. There's psychological reasons. There's personal reasons. Let's talk a little bit about some of those reasons why people decide to change. So why would people be making changes?
Even before that, I want to say some people are making changes to change brokerages, and some people are making changes to get out of the business. Right. So 60,000 agents have left the business overall.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of correlations in real estate, but most of them are not direct, meaning you can't match A to B and say this is the reason. However, there is one.
Yeah.
The number of transactions directly dictate the number of agents that are there.
Always directly correlated. Yeah.
Directly correlated. So if there's more transactions, there's more agents. If there's less transactions, there's less agents. And so there's a pool of agents that have left the business.
Yep.
Yep. And a lot of them tend to be part-time agents, people who this is not their full-time career, and they're like, why am I spending money and I can't get any deals done?
Yeah.
And there are agents who are top-notch, agents that have historically been, representing at the highest levels, top producers.
Yeah.
They're also getting out of the business.
Yeah.
They're feeling burnout. They're feeling all types of negative energy associated with the industry, and they're leaving.
Well, because it's a little bit different of kind of what it takes to do now relative to some previous markets. Because we had a really interesting confluence of factors, right? Meaning that both
confluence
like that overlapping,
yes, I like
all
it.
at once. There's an Axios article that lists how many folks were in the boom. At the spring of 2022, we were up at a max of almost 1.6 million realtors nationwide. And like Ryan said, it's right down around 1.537. So that's, again, around 60,000 that have chosen to leave in just a half a year, which is significant. But what were those factors that, have trended to a market shifting? One, rates went up really quickly and dramatically, like they were at a historic low to not a historic high, but what felt like a historic high.
Double.
In terms of speed, like how quickly they went up.
Double, and sometimes in some cases triple.
Correct. So that was big and unprecedented. We still had inventory challenges, right? Like we haven't had inventory challenges both in new construction when housing starts, resales, kind of every sector, both had inventory challenges. So what did that create? Both a constriction on demand, because before demand was crazy, and even when supply is tight, if demand is crazy, it evens out, which is why things were selling so much. But then when there was a supply constraint that gets even worse because there's no resales coming in the market and demand is impacted, that means the result of a lot less business for everybody.
A lot less business from everyone.
Yeah. Yep. So it happens in all those things. Psychologically, Ryan, when things change, how does that impact somebody's mind of like a market changing, and why would they want to go to a new company? Like what does going to a new company actually do for somebody that's going through changes?
Well, sometimes people just want a fresh start.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just want something new. They feel like they just need to shake it up, change it up, and that newness is going to give them a spark.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I see that.
Yeah.
I understand that perspective, right? I mean, we do it in our personal lives, we do it in our business lives. We might not change, with us, with Coalition, we might not change brokerages, but we might try this one thing that's new, or try something else, or get rid of this service and try this new person. So we do it on that level. But what we're seeing is that a lot of people are looking for answers.
Yeah.
They're looking for answers. And so if they feel like they're not getting the answers and the support that they need from their current situations, well, they're getting out of that business relationship and trying to find new ones. Or even if they're not necessarily searching for it, they're wondering. Their eyes are wondering, right? They're like, what's out there? And you make them the right offer. You have the right conversation at the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, even our friend Big Kenny says, you make me the right offer at the right time, you might have a company. He says this as a joke. Yeah, but it's funny because it's a way to think about things. Like, that's how stressful this business can be.
Timing and where people are in their life is a really big factor of it. And they ask a question that makes me think of a Janet Jackson song. What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? Right? So the truth
Sorry,
is,
my bad. Sorry.
even if someone in the real estate or brokerage space has a great setup, actually had a decent year, things are going well, but if they're not where they expect them to be, like our other conversation, that can be another driver why people decide to go seek something else because of the assumption that a change, new setting, new energy, new vibe will equal the expectation.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because that's the biggest mindset problem of it all. It's like you had a certain expectations, things change and you didn't.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. And that's crazy to say out loud, right? Because in my mind, I'm like, dang, that's probably some stuff that I'm keeping my mindset on that I'm not changing as well. Yeah. But like that's the baseline of why people feel like they're not able to do what they're supposed to. The expectations haven't changed, and that's fine. You can keep your expectations, but your execution has to adjust with the expectation. So if you're saying I need to sell or make X amount of money or whatever, and now you see that we went from 6 million transactions a year to 4 million transactions a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we're down 35% transactions over the last 2-3 years. Then, quite frankly, your business probably, if you just kept doing what you're doing, probably went down 35%.
Period. Did nothing that you could be amazing, right? But if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results.
Exactly. And so now you're doing the same thing, same results, and expecting a different number, but you're not, you're looking at the micro and not the macro.
Yeah.
And so you don't have the perspective to say, oh, this is how this is changing. And even when you say, like, I get it, it's changing, less transactions, you still got to ask yourself, so what am I going to do? What you going to do?
I think in analogies a lot, and I feel like when people make a change and change companies, it's like kind of putting a different jersey or T-shirt on. And you know how bougie I am about fabrics and feeling things. I could be the same chubby, pasty, dad bod thick bro, but when I go get that new nice cut shirt I put it on.
Well, how do you describe yourself again?
I ain't gonna repeat that. You're trying to pull something out of me. I was coming with words out my head. Let's just say dad bod.
Dad bod.
But if I get
good, man, do you?
Hey, man, I appreciate you. Yeah, you messed up my point.
My bad, bro. I mean, it was just there.
I put a new shirt on. That new shirt fits right. The fabric feels nicer. When I put that new shirt on, I look in the mirror and I'm like, man, I am different. Like I am actually different today. But that don't mean I go to the gym. That doesn't mean I actually get in better shape. That doesn't mean I actually do anything to look better underneath. I feel like that's a part of, and shout out to some of the brokerages that are showing up in the right space and saying the right things to the agents to make them feel good and giving them that new T-shirt with the fabric that's soft and fits right. And it's like the custom T-shirt. I get marketed those all the time now.
And you buy them all the time.
I do buy quite a few of them. Yeah.
And then they're basically push-up bras for men.
Really push-up bras.
Push-up bras for men. They keep your arms nice and big and strong.
And then they got the nice little hang to hide the gut.
You like that. Ooh, you been working out.
And there was one I got. It was a little too long. It was kind of like the Kanye shirt.
I didn't like that one. You got that one for me.
I did get that one. Yeah. But then when you got the belly, then it like tights back in.
And then it
looks
like a dress. And then come back. Oh yeah, that didn't feel good, man. I'm not gonna lie. I had to keep looking myself up from the chest. That one felt good,
but it didn't look good. And that's a good analogy too, because there's people that make changes to companies and they go somewhere and it feels good. But how does it actually because I think a part of sales in any sales business or organization is both how I feel and how I am motivated personally, how it helps my brand and what consumers think and see of me, but then also how it impacts my performance and like what I actually do. And I think it's a combination of all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, when personal things are happening to you, a lot of times people blame it on business first.
Yeah.
And even if they don't blame it on business, they're like, well, at least I can change this. They want to change something they can control. And usually you can control your brokerage or you go into all that. You don't, going home to your wife or your spouse or your husband and you have, whatever's going on, that COVID brought a lot of things to the forefront in personal relationships.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Magnifying glass.
It magnified it. And those things traditionally are more difficult to change. However, your business relationship, especially with a brokerage where you're 1099, you can be in and out. Bye. I see you.
Yeah.
Right. But here's what I'll ask too, though. Is there a difference between brokerages? Because in the end, it just seems like everybody's just do-si-doing, ring around the rosy, changing up brokerages. Why would someone change brokerages? And why would you, go to a certain brokerage, what are you looking for? What are you going to get out of that new relationship? What little words they've been whispering in your ears to make you come over and give them a try?
I mean, look, I think a big element of it is FOMO, man. People look from the outside for one piece. And I'd say that's maybe the different tiers of agents. People who are newer to on the come up and growing it can look and say that how that looks is interesting and appealing and it's fun and people are winning. And when I go there, I'm going to win too, right? I feel like that's one reason and one difference is how well do brokerages or companies tell that story and attract folks to come and be a part of it. Like that's the story.
It's like influencer marketing, basically, right? It's the same concept,
same
just
concept.
in a brokerage. And, a lot of times agents are micro influencers, if you will. They are mayors of their communities.
Keith,
and so,
James, come on. Like the biggest magnet, right?
Yeah, super magnet. And people seeing, man, y'all are still winning. We losing over here and y'all still winning. What's going on?
Yeah. I want to be with the money team.
They want to be with the money team, exactly. But what they don't see is the decisions we have to make in the background to make sure we're still winning. We're still making hard decisions. We're still having to we have to look at each other and be honest with each other about what decisions need to be made and what's got to get cut and what's got to stay and all those types of things. And even the dynamics of relationships that we have currently, like those things change too. Right? And as we try to evolve and make sure that we are protecting the company, the expectations that we have of ourselves as well as the people we're in business with, our partners, there's modifications to that.
Yeah. Back to your question, what is actually different about brokerages? Truth is not much. I mean, not much. I mean, like let's just be blunt. When people change companies, there is not really a fundamental core difference. Now, there has been the shift, if you will, to the virtual brokerage marketplace, right? Which came up from one of our, acronym friends that created a really dope company, really good marketing, revenue share things over the last 5 to 7 years, I think.
Yeah, something like
right?
that. Yeah.
And that went. So that was kind of a shift from a brick and mortar office that I come into and have my sales meeting, and there's a manager that taps me on my shoulder and tells me I did a good job and give me a little plastic plaque, right? Like there's all those things that were like traditional brokerage model. I think the virtual option is something newer, and I'd argue will continue to have a solid part of our market moving forward, because a lot of the marketing and a lot of the things that traditional brokerages, brick and mortar brokerages gave agents, they can figure out and piece together on their own. I think like that virtual model will still be a significant part moving forward. But for pretty much every other place that's got a physical office and a manager, or whatever you want to call them, a desk where you can pick up the phone, go and work, do open houses. Like there's a core set of things that a brokerage offers that is going to be this pretty much the same place to place. I think it's just a difference of how it's packaged and how well that package can actually motivate, inspire, connect, and support the agents to do what they want to do.
Right. But I don't think within that package, it's all the same ingredients. Meaning, or they might be the same ingredients, but you might not have enough. We can make the same soup the same way, and you don't put enough salt in there, and your soup is not as good as mine anymore, right? You're saying it's the same ingredients, right?
Yeah.
But you were missing a little bit of salt, a little bit of sauce.
Oh, too much
Where's
sauce?
it? Too much sauce? Where'd it go? Oh man, we got
some sauce. We got some sauce for you. He gonna get some real quick. And that's, I mean, the food analogy is perfect though, because I can read a recipe. Almost died. I can read a recipe. I can watch it on YouTube. I can believe it. I can try. But if I'm a little bit off with my ingredients, or if I don't have the correct ingredients to begin with,
or the correct
not
expectations around it too. Meaning, like, how many times do you have to make this dish before you actually get good at it?
First time out, I should be able to do it. I read the instruction first time.
I read the
book. I watched a YouTube video.
I saw it and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you are a farmer and you're raising a crop, how much of your crop is gonna be good? How much of your crop you got to throw away?
What's your yield? Yeah.
What's your yield? And there's so much of the crop that you got to throw away. And you might be a poor farmer and have to throw away 80%, right? You might be really good and not have to throw away that much.
And both of them had the same weather conditions, same water, same this, same that, how they apply it.
Yeah, how they apply it, the team, all those types of things. So, I mean, I think you even see that. So you go past the brokerage and within the teams. And I will say, here are some things before I go there. Yeah. Here's some things I think that are differences in brokerages. Because what it really boils down to is brokerages are operating companies.
Okay.
And operating companies, and service-based operating companies, those are people businesses.
Yeah.
And so how good of a brokerage you are is really going to be determined by how good of people are within inside the brokerage.
Period. Yeah.
And that's both from the leadership perspective, that's from the staff perspective, and then that's from the agent perspective.
Yeah.
On each three of those levels.
Yep.
And so the reason I'm going from one brokerage to the other is that my current position in life at the brokerage, that group of people don't provide the value or don't have the skills to keep me where this other group of people have the value and have the skills.
Yep.
Because agents will collaborate anyway.
Right.
So maybe I can get it from my friend. Maybe
Right.
I can do this. Maybe I can get it. My friend at
Or
another
go to a
brokerage.
mastermind, or go to association, or go wherever else.
I go to
seek
something,
it.
and
Yeah.
then for some reason, something's still missing.
Yeah.
So when that something's still missing question keeps coming up, or you look around, it's like, man, and then you start asking yourself, why am I going to all these things at other people's brokerages and other people's organizations? Why can't I get that from my own brokerage?
Why didn't they offer that to me?
Yeah, why didn't they offer that
What
to
have
me?
they done for me lately?
What have they done for me?
What is my cut actually going to? No, those are all powerful questions, man. And again, I'd argue the choices that even I've made over my career, only the couple times I've chosen to move, were really honed in on the people, right? Who were the folks in that? What was the environment that I was around? Because us being, veterans of team sports, like, what league am I in, right? Like the difference between,
What game you wanna
SEC and sorry if there's anybody from this from Northeastern Conference, right? Like that, like they're
The Patriot League.
oh. Well, it's close to
I mean, you might as well give it to yourself.
yeah,
if you
let's
give
give
it
it
to
ourselves.
anybody.
There's a big difference. They're both leagues you can win, have a great time.
Both Division I.
But like SEC is just a different level, right?
Yeah,
in
for
every
sure.
way. And I'd argue that
That's
like
in football
brokerage,
in particular.
Oh, almost every. I mean, but yes, in football
Not
particularly.
basketball. I mean,
I mean, that's
SEC
pretty-
basketball.
Yeah, bro. This year, Kentucky, Alabama this year, Auburn, right?
Yeah, there's a
they've had some
couple.
good years.
There's a couple.
Yeah, I mean,
Or whatever.
I don't know. But I don't even know the new leagues have changed up so much. Like, I
Oh
don't
yeah,
even
that's
know where
right. I
everybody
mean,
is.
it's like the big. What's it? The Big 15 now?
They're about to make the
Pac 30,
the West Coast. Yeah, like everybody on this side.
West Coast swing. Everybody from Nevada on to they can be one league.
Oh, man. So I wanted to ask you another question. Burnout and dissatisfaction, I think, are two things that line up with expectation. How much and how important is that when people decide to make a change? Like, are those important?
I mean, I
elements?
think those are massive factors. And hence, like, when you burn out, I believe that's when one of the times that you feel most alone in life. That's when you feel very much alone.
Yeah.
When you burn out. Because when you burn out, that means you're at the bottom. That means you were shooting, you were running. It looks like you're in a car, and all of a sudden your car caught on fire. And everybody else's car is still on the road running. Or so you think. You don't know. Maybe their car is catching on fire later or before or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or you're looking around and you're saying, man, everybody's car is catching on fire. And they're worried about their cars. And you got to worry about your car.
Yeah.
And so here we are. And no one's worried about helping you right now because they're so worried about helping themselves because they're in similar situations.
Yeah.
So I think that it plays a really large part because you feel alone, and just like anything else, you were attracted to someone else because they made you felt like
you were together.
You belong.
Community, space. Yeah, welcomed.
there was community. Yeah. And community, there's only two reasons, and we're talking about brokers mostly, and I think we should talk a little bit about teams.
Yeah.
But there's only two reasons people join teams. Right? There's only two reasons really why people join brokerages, but I also think that's the reason why it's a little bit easier to go in and out of brokerages.
Yeah.
You're there for culture, and you're there for support. Sometimes you'll say, I want leads.
I want money. Give me
I want
money.
money, leads. But those are actually statistically aren't the reasons why people are there. People are there for culture and support.
Yeah.
Because they know with the culture and support, they can have a sustainable run. Because you can go in and get the money,
Yep.
and then it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And it's not a win-win.
Because there isn't, and whatever the brokerage model is, and if there is one out there, holler at us, where there is just consistent money, where they just give you money all the time for nothing.
Yeah. For nothing. Yeah.
That'd be a great place to stay, but that doesn't
sure.
exist, right? So there's the enticement money, there's the signing bonus, there's to get you in the door,
Yep.
but then do the other pieces align? And to your point of culture, community, and support, real estate, and I've heard this in a bunch of different spaces, there's this what we call island of entrepreneurship, right? That can be extremely lonely, especially if you're good at it too. And I think there's like a middle space where you're just figuring it out. You're, better than the folks who are just getting started. You're not quite up to the team leader, broker, owner up at the top. There's that kind of messy and lonely middle that I feel like really encourages the most movement, because people are seeking that right culture fit community piece that's gonna give them just a little bit more to go further, give them a little bit more support, a little bit more like community of peers to be like, man, I've got all these frustrations, pains, good problems that I'm coming up on. What do I do? So I feel like that messy, or messy is maybe not the right word, but
it's pretty messy.
Messy,
it's pretty messy
middle is also kind of lonely, and that's where the right brokerage and the right team can be an answer.
Yeah, and I think also what you usually find is, I think from a burnout standpoint, is like the poet says, pride is the devil. I think it got a hold on me. So a lot of people just got so much pride that they rather die on their sword than ask for help.
Oof, talk about that, bro.
They rather die on the sword.
And what is it about our profession, or just sales? Or I guess it's not just our profession. It's probably sales and entrepreneurship that, because pride can fuel you, like we've talked about here. But then there's a line where you gotta,
Well, that line is really hard to stop, because you built up those habits up to that line,
and it worked. And those habits helped you get to where you're at.
It helped you get to where you are, because you had to believe in yourself when nobody else believed in you.
Yeah,
you had to believe in yourself, then your skills and your abilities, when everyone else around you was saying like it's not you, or it's like, no, I'm the one.
You can't do this.
You can't.
Yeah,
you can't. I'm the one. You have to say that. So there's an air of arrogance.
Yeah.
That comes with being a sales professional in the beginning, I think, because you have to sharpen your mind enough to believe that the value that you're bringing and what you're doing is important.
Yeah. But then the humility to like actually be honest about where you're at and what you need, or what your blind spots, right? To be like, all right, I don't know what I don't know, and I need some help. And I feel like that's another important thing of brokerage change, team change, location change, is who can speak to helping you with your blind spot. And I feel like for individuals in that middle trying to figure it out, and even bigger teams, folks, anybody on a growth path, you get focused on doing something well and being good at it. You may not even realize how big that blind spot's getting, because you've gone so hard on the thing that worked well.
Yeah, and then you complain about the things that you're not doing well, right? It's like you didn't put any time, effort, or energy in it.
Yeah.
And so I think from a team perspective, it makes a lot of sense. I think teams are going to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
As far as like what's important for people to be a part of the team, because of the culture and because of the support, and because the transactions are getting smaller. Agents are going to want to be affiliated with people who can attract a lot of attention, meaning potential business.
Yeah.
Because in the end, teams are in and of themselves, real estate, realtors, first and foremost, are marketers.
Yeah.
And then they're salespeople. Most people don't realize that, right? You're marketers first, and then you're salespeople.
There's some people that are real good at the marketing part.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's why teams make so much sense, though, because then a team can do the marketing, and you can be the best version of the sales professionals that you are.
Yeah.
Right, and help people solve their problems. But if you don't, you can be the best person for the job, and if you don't market yourself, no one will ever know. If you don't tell people like you're actually good at this stuff, like no one's gonna know.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's talk. So we kind of talked abstractly about change and when it happens. I want to give people a little bit of meat before we wrap it up. What are some of the risks when people do decide to make these changes that go into, You want to wrap it up? Okay.
Give them a little bit of meat and wrap it up before we go. Gotcha. Okay. Let's go.
Some of the changes, like Cameron and oh gosh,
Cam and Mace.
Cam and Mace.
What a funny show
that is. Shout out to It Is What It Is. One day I want to be like that. I feel like we got to have the raspier laugh. Like they just break into like 40 seconds of laughing.
Yes,
and I watch it.
To be fair,
makes me feel good.
I feel like we kind of break it to probably a good bit of laughter.
So in conclusion, Ryan, as we want to,
say what you got to say and say it with your chest.
Risks. When someone makes a change, I just want them to be aware of what you're actually going to. This concept of the grass being greener versus not. How in depth have you gone into conversation with where you are, and how much have you actually looked at the changes you need to make and how they could happen where you're at, as opposed to jumping elsewhere? And I'm not saying that the decision is ever 1,000% right or wrong, but I think a big risk is that people make the change and go somewhere, but aren't even really in tune with the underlying problem. So like a self-analysis and like,
man, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm not trying to do any clickbait stuff, but realtors can't do math. I mean, they just can't do the math.
We do percentages. We know the percent.
I'm like, oh, y'all know. Oh, yeah, they're gonna give me this. Well, what do you even get right now?
Yeah,
y'all can't do math. I'm sorry, man. And you can't be like, well, I'm not good at math.
My lender's good at math. And then
you come back and all your problems is related to math. You're like, dang, I'm not good at math and I can't figure it out. Yeah. And then you want somebody to come figure it out for you. What you think happens when someone else figures out your math?
You pay. You gonna pay.
As the great Fred Sanford said, you big dummy. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little bit aside on that.
It's okay. So a risk is not paying attention to the details. Is that what I'm hearing?
Not paying attention to the details and not understanding. Even if you pay attention, not having an understanding of what the details are. You're not just a sales professional, you're a business owner. And so as a business owner, you need to know your numbers. And if you don't know them, you're not a good business owner.
Period.
Not
a professional if you don't keep score.
Nope. Ooh.
I said that years ago. I brought that back out in a minute. All right. So talked about what some of the risks are. What are then some of the good things? You said before, culture and support, two main things. What are other good things for anyone watching this that's considering a change or like weighing options right now? What should they look for in a move? And I know it's different situations for everybody, but generally speaking, what are some good reasons to move?
Good reasons to do anything in business is how can I make more money and how can I save more time? And how can I have less headache?
Yeah.
So if I'm moving, you better solve one or all three of my issues for me.
Yeah.
Right. And then also in addition to that, you got to think about from yourself, what am I bringing to this organization?
That part again. Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
What am I bringing to the organization?
What's the dance move?
I don't know. You said one more time. I just felt like I was supposed
to put some emphasis on it.
I just felt like I was supposed to do something like Like, what have you done for us lately?
What can I do for you now? Not whatever you've done for me lately. What can I do for you now?
Yeah. And if you, especially like, this is where the humility comes in, right? Because the pride is like, man, they not doing nothing for me. And it's like, man, what are you doing for yourself? One. And what are you doing for others?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing something for yourself and others, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you even doing?
Because
and then it's like, they not doing this for me. We had to talk the other day on the team, and we were talking about the services that the team provides. But then we had to really have a discussion around, okay, this is all the stuff you're asking for us, but ask yourself, what are you doing for yourself?
Period.
And what are you bringing to the table to match this? Because it's real easy to complain about what someone else is doing and not look at yourself in the mirror and really take responsibility for the things that you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Oh, man, because it's very frustrating when people, one, don't fully understand their value, right? Because that's a key part of what you just said. You got to understand your value, what you bring to the table, what a brokerage, an office, a team will get from you. Like, that should be made clear. Like, that shouldn't be a question. Like, that dual exchange of value is important.
Because it's business, which means that money has to be exchanged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money, a value has to be exchanged.
Value has to be exchanged. Yeah.
And there's going to be time, skills, and money. Those are the three things that get exchanged in business.
Yeah.
And so which one are you going to get exchanged? Which one is being exchanged for the other, or a combination thereof?
And my thing I would tell folks to just be very clear on before you make a change is this concept of demonstrable value, right? We get distracted a lot of times by the upfront. Another good phrase. He loves that. Demonstrable value.
Demonstrable value.
Demonstrable value. It's not just, and it should be a part of it, right? Beautiful marketing, clean branding, because that's a pain point that gets a lot of people to jump like, ooh, you make my stuff look pretty. What is the actual math on the back end looking like? What opportunities are there to not just help you make a little bit more money, which everybody wants to do, but save more and be smarter with it and have strategies on compounding and thinking bigger about, like, if you're coming to a place with a solid database, with solid connections, with solid relationships, that's value that you bring and that you have.
For sure.
What are you getting in exchange for that? And if you're putting your entire database into somebody else's system, Are they going to give it back?
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's a value that I feel like so many realtors, especially in that middle space, like, oh, hey, I'm plug all my contacts in here, and that's all I have to do. 1,000 people. That's your value, dude. Like, understand
That's
that,
part of
own
it.
that. But are you actually using it? Like, it's given away so much so easily because people ain't using it.
Yeah, and people, I mean, this is business. Everybody ain't good.
Yeah.
Everybody's not a good person.
It's not fair.
And it's not fair.
It's not fair.
One, it's not fair, but also businesses are looking for suckers. So are you going to be a sucker? Are you going to be the one that just like,
No.
all right, that sounds good. Like, man, this topic, boils my skin a little bit.
Oh, you know it boils my skin.
I'm up here boiling, I'm up here boiling underneath, like
Well,
because like I see people's potential in these things, and I see what they can be, and how they give up, the inconsistencies and decisions that they're making on the controllable aspects of their life, and how they're not making those positive or forward decisions, and then kind of looking and wanting to really take the out, right?
Yeah.
Take the escape and say, well, you didn't help me enough, or you weren't. I mean, it's just interesting because a team or a group or a brokerage, like these are all partnerships. Everybody's an individual, like an LLC or a person or whatever, and you're partnering with other people to get these deals done, just like a lender, just like whatever. And if someone's not bringing the value to the table, maybe you should let them go.
Yeah.
All right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right. And then you got to make some changes.
Got to, man. Oh, man, this is so, and we could go for hours on this.
Yeah, for sure.
And one final thought. Whenever you are negotiating, whenever you are actually looking at terms, your point earlier of actually knowing your own numbers, being better in tune with the simple math that is adding up what you have made and kept, for one, is important. Negotiate from a point of understanding and not a point of ignorance in any context in life. If you're negotiating without all the information, and the saddest part is some people come in to negotiate on these brokerage, relationship, partnership deals without even knowing their own information
for sure.
first.
They don't know it.
So know your numbers, know yourself, know what you need, know what you want, have that plan. And when you can negotiate from a point of both confidence and strategy and understanding, you're always going to be on the better side of it, or at least you're going to know clearly that what's being offered to you is not what it looks like.
Yep.
That's it. Any final thoughts? Yeah.
Nope. I think that's it.
Oh, good. All right. Make sure you connect to our podcast on all platforms, especially on YouTube, so you can see his beautiful face every time. We are on Instagram as well at All Blends Perfectly. He is at Ryan Butler Hoya. I am at HL Beach, and Jimmy Kenneth is at Keith James Realtor. Our sales team is at Coalition Properties, and we're so grateful for you joining in on another episode of the All Blends Perfectly podcast. We will see you next time.